Hello and welcome back to my 88 subscribers that I have right now who it's very flattering. I'm happy to have you here. I like that you are interested enough in the stuff that I'm making, which I'm currently surrounded by, that you decided to click subscribe and see more of it. So, if that's you, if you're one of those 88 people, hi, happy to have you here. If you're new, welcome. Thanks for clicking on my face. My name is Marissa. I live in Wisconsin and I knit. So today I'm going to talk about what I've been making. I made myself this hat because it was like -10 degrees in the entire United States, I think, for most of last week. Um, Everybody everywhere was really cold. So if you live in the US, you remember it. It was just last week. So I made myself this hat on Monday evening. It took me about 3 hours, and most of that was the pom-pom. So I have video of me making this. We'll talk about that and my other whips. The socks I made in my last video, as I was wearing them, they got stretched out even more than they were already stretched out, and they were like way too big for my feet, so I remade them. This is the first one that I remade, and I'm on the second one now, gonna turn the heel probably sometime this weekend. So that's happening. And then I've got a couple other things I'm surrounded by here. And I've also been reading this book. I'm gonna cover up the name of my library so no one can stalk me. It is No Idle Hands, The Social History of American Knitting by Anne MacDonald. It's from the late 80s, but I think the author is still living as far as I know. It really is a social history. I just went on Goodreads today, and some people thought it was kind of dry and very academic, to which I'm like, it says it's a social history on it. So if you didn't read any historical, like nonfiction texts like this in college, it definitely reminded me of stuff that I read in college. I thought this was really interesting, so I'm going to read you a couple fun parts about it and talk about it while I show clips of myself knitting. And then we're also going to talk about what I've been working on. So, first, let's talk about this hat, I guess. What happened with this hat is I knew I needed something warm to wear because it was going to be extremely cold. I recently made myself a hat in December. I don't know if I ever actually showed it finished. I could. But it's lighter, it's pretty thin, and more of a spring hat, I would say, especially in Wisconsin. I didn't have a thick beanie like this. Pardon the noise. My cat, we gave her a new tinsel toy today. It was long overdue, and so she's going kind of nuts. My brother, for some reason, he thinks I knit with super bulky yarn. I typically don't, but I don't have the heart to tell him that. And yeah, so we're just pretending that I like this. But I mean, I'm happy to use it sometimes and really stretch my imagination a little bit. He gave me this and then like a mustard colored ball that is even bulkier than this. I'm not sure how that's possible because this is super bulky. It literally says like number 6 on it as far as the like craft store yarn weights go, which is about as bulky as you can get. I only used about 30 grams of this on the parts of the hat that are white. It's Lion Brand Woolies. It's mostly acrylic and a bit of wool. Yeah, I only used like 30 yards to make this hat. The hat pattern is the Pomona. I bought the pattern for the one that's like a cap that has the drawstrings on the side. It says it's a bonnet, but I didn't actually make the bonnet. I just wanted the stitch pattern, and then I used that, adapted that to make a hat. And the reason I did that is her hat pattern comes, this hat pattern comes just in adult sizes, but the bonnet pattern with there was like shaping on the sides that you have the cords down the side, like mostly for little kids. That came in children's to adult sizes. So I was like, okay, if I want to make this again, use up more scraps, make kid sizes for my children and my nieces and nephews in the future and whatever, I'd like just to have the pattern that has the children's sizes in it. I don't want to have to do all the math myself. And this is great because the pattern goes through for your gauge or for what type of yarn, what weight of yarn you're using, how many stitches you're going to want to do. I did briefly check my gauge, and then I cast on just the standard like large adult, regular adult size because I have a pretty wide head. And then I just sat on the couch and knit the hat. I ended up holding like 4 strands of my scraps with this. I didn't have very many scraps that were anywhere near any sort of bulky weight, which is why I had to like quadruple them up. It was pretty crazy. So I just started holding 4 strands. When I ran out of one, I grabbed another one that matched and tied it together. I really love this bright blue right there. That has to be my favorite part of it. I think I'm going to use up the rest of the bright blue in another project. So I really like this marled look here. The stitch pattern is just really cute. The one thing that I don't like is this moment where I had the mustard come in over the bright purple. I was like, orange and purple are pretty complementary colors, you know, like yellowish, yellow and purple, yellowish, orange and purple. But my problem is the purple is too bright and the oranges and the browns are way too dull. So I feel like the saturation of the colors don't match at all, and so I don't like how that part looks. Yeah, I think it's cute. I wore it a lot in the last week or two. I can't wear my hair up with it, so I have to like bring a hair clip to work, but I have hair clips in my car and my bags and everywhere anyway. So it's a lot of hair up and hair down in order to wear a hat to work, and I'm in and out of the car more than most people are during the day because sometimes I go over to the university to rehearse with some students or play some lessons or something, and then like go back to my regular job and then go back to university. It's a lot of like back and forth. So it is really good to have a hat like this. People have been complimenting me a lot. I'm like, yeah, I didn't make it. The week that I made it, I was just like, yeah, I made it on Monday. I should have been practicing, but I was procrastinating, so I made this hat. At the end, the brim was too loose. So what I did was I took the tail from my cast on edge, which was way too long. I think I actually ran out of yarn the first time I tried to cast on, so then I had to make the tail super long. I was using size 13 needles, and I never knit with yarn that's this thick. So I just took the end of my yarn and like sewed it up and down all the way around the brim and tugged that tight enough to make this a little more snug around my head. And it's perfect. It's very comfortable. I could have made it shorter. I have some space, but I wanted a slightly slouchy look. For me, the funniest part of this project was how I decided at 10:45 p.m. that I absolutely had to make a matching pom-pom for it. I just refused to buy one. I don't know. I'm not going to buy a pom-pom. The point of this is to use up my scraps. So I'm going to go cut apart the Chewy box that my cat's food came in the mail, cut the cardboard apart into 2 cardboard donuts. The first time I made them like too skinny, so it would have made the pom-pom like too small and the pieces would have not been long like I wanted. I went the opposite way. So I actually had to do it twice. So yeah, the only way that I want to make a pom-pom is just losing my mind at 11 o'clock at night and cutting apart a bunch of cardboard with an X-Acto knife and then wrapping the yarn around it and making this pom-pom. I do have video of me doing that in case you're curious to see it. You do not need a pom-pom maker. You do not need supplies beyond some scrap cardboard and some scissors. I use a crochet hook to pull the yarn through. I mean, you can just go make a pom-pom right now. Like, be free. That's what I do, and I encourage you to do the same. There's nothing wrong with this pom-pom. It'll last me a long time. If it ever gets gross, I'll just take it off and make a new one, I guess. But, yup. I am going to talk more about the social history book that I've been reading. I've only read about 4 chapters. I just made it through the Oregon Trail, so that's about where we're at right now in our American history. It's time for the Civil War, and I'm not really that jazzed about that, so, you know, we're making our way through the book. But I honestly found the first chapter the most interesting, which was pre-revolution knitting. I had never heard, never learned, never even thought about how much time people, mostly women, but people in general, used to spend, like every day, how much time they spent making their own stockings. I guess it makes sense because when you're a working class person, a middle class person, just a regular person back in the day, and there are no acrylic fibers, and there are no machine produced socks, or if they are, they just aren't good. Like socks without elastic, socks without nylon, like socks just made from natural fibers, you really want those to fit your feet and be comfortable and be usable and to be able to work in them. And you're going to wear them out a lot, and you're going to have to remake them all the time. And that's what people did with their time. There are people who made, like, a lot of their family's income actually came from making stockings. So many women, like, their employment and their livelihood and their usefulness to their family in a way was just based on making things, making clothing for their family, especially stockings. There's all these diary excerpts in the book about these women's daily life that they were writing down and how much of it, like, they were just constantly knitting, especially socks. Other things also, but mostly socks. And it just absolutely blows my mind. And it also really makes me think as I'm reading about their daily lives, and it is a lot of first-hand accounts from people. It makes me realize that, like, those knitters and us modern knitters, like, we're the same creatures. Like, nothing has changed about what it is like to experience your life as a person who spends a lot of your day knitting. Like, maybe it's not as much of a necessity now, but I do really get a sense that a lot of these women enjoyed making things and enjoyed feeling useful and enjoyed having something to do with their hands. A lot of them certainly didn't, and that's why they didn't journal about it, but yeah, I just found it really interesting. I have saved some actual passages to read from you. So here is just some excerpts from somebody's diary. Spun, doubled, and twisted 20 knots of stocking yarn. Began a pair of stockings, 48 stitches to a needle. Can you imagine? They did have double-pointed needles, 48 stitches to a needle. How thin that must have been. Finished some stockings I began on the 20th. Finished the mittens, begun the 28th. Just goes on and on and on and on. And what's crazy is, like, there's one girl here, it says, of even her 21st birthday, she remarked laconically, my birthday. Picked wool and helped mother with the work, period. And that's it. That's the entire entry. Christmas Day, all it says for Christmas Day is washed, sewed, etc., etc. Like, that's all that happened that day. And then it goes on to say that she made a pair of stockings for their doctor in exchange for his, like, treating her father's throat for a growth that he had. Like, they were bartering with their knitting. They were trading stockings amidst their social circle for, like, goods and services. And there was actually a point where Britain tried to, like, ban their exporters. They told them not to send wool to the colonies, and everybody just ignored them. They were like, yeah, we're not doing that. It's way too good of a market. It's just such a different way of thinking about history from everything you actually learn in history. Like, you go to history and you learn about wars and you learn about important men, and then you read these excerpts from regular people's lives and you realize, oh, wait a second, all that other stuff only happened because their sisters and their daughters and their wives and their moms and those women at home spent all day making them socks, so that they could like be farming and be going to work, and their feet would not like freeze off and they wouldn't die from an infection or something. Like, especially with the wars, socks were really so essential. And there's just millions of women throughout all of history who spent all day making socks for their families, and their families loved them for it and applauded them for it and were appropriately grateful and everything, but like, they just didn't get the credit that they deserved for keeping the entire country's, the entire world's feet warm for a couple centuries. Yeah. No one is just giving them the credit that they deserve. And it's just really crazy getting to read about it. While you can watch me knit my 3-color ladderback jacquard, which is kind of slow and an awful lot of work, while I do that, I'm also going to read to you more about the social history of American knitting, especially in the 18th century, because yeah, it's just way more interesting than the modern stuff in my opinion. So I've saved the part here about gauge and needle and yarn sizes because it's so funny. If you've ever watched anybody follow historical recipes or directions or knitting or sewing patterns, you know that a lot of the language they use is very confusing and open to interpretation, and they just assume that whoever is knitting the pattern already knows what they're doing. Back in the day, they just didn't really care about gauge. It says that they had needle gauges, so they could have checked needle gauge the same way as we do now, but nothing was just as standardized. So here's some of the instructions from pattern authors. Use fine knitting needles. Take large bone or wood pins. Use steel needles, for they are the best. And then here's my favorite. Use regular needles. And then here it also says, like, they're giving warnings. Do not knit too tight or too loosely. It's like, wow, thank you. So don't knit too tight and don't knit too loose. Just knit the right amount. I hope that's helpful, everybody. That's what our ancestors, they wanted you to know about knitting, is that you should just use your regular needles and your regular yarn and make whatever size happens from that just by knitting the right amount. Not too loose, not too tight. Just, just knit how you're supposed to knit and don't complain, I guess. And then it says the following instructions are for medium knitters. And since it didn't really need to have a good fit back in the day, it says, they didn't care. And then it says, in children's clothes, if the garment didn't fit, a child was found to fit the garment, a maneuver not confined to 19th century knitters. Then it goes on and explains, like, what different yarn weights were called back in the day, which is, like, something was, Zephyr was sport weight, German wool was, like, worsted, and then there's English fleecy or German fleecy were, like, sock yarn, and merino, they would split it and use it for, like, fancy knitting or baby stuff, apparently. And they had a lot of red dye back in the day. So, yeah, that's what I learned. It's finally time for the rest of our show and tell. I am at some pretty good, like, stopping points as far as nearly being done with sections of the stuff that I'm working on. This is my skirt. This is the pocket I made for my cell phone. I made that yesterday. It's pretty funny, or maybe 2 days ago. 2 days ago? I'm not sure when I made it. It's pretty funny. I was just knitting along, and then I cast off these stitches based on the width of my phone, and then I did the entire next row around, and then I cast on just with backwards loops the stitches that I had already cast off. Then I stopped what I was doing and took some double points and picked up like 1 or 2 stitches down on the inside so that it wouldn't curl the top of it over. I picked up the inside of the pocket and then in order to make the top of it not like pulling down on the pocket, in order to make the top of it a little bit longer, I picked up along the top and I did 3 rows first, just the top, and then I started knitting in the round, and I made this entire pocket, and then I sewed the pocket, the sides of it, just the sides of it, to the I just made it in stockinette just to be, you know, just for laziness sake. I sewed it to the sides so it wouldn't like flop all over the place. You know how when you have large pockets in your garments that aren't connected to anything, how they just like will pull down and move all over the place if you have an entire cell phone in them. So yeah, I was just knitting the pocket. I would stop and like try to put my phone in it, and if it was too short because my phone didn't fit, I was like, I have to keep knitting. So that's how I made the pocket. Highly recommend just adding pockets to your garments. I know it's pretty bulky, but like in a knit garment, especially that's not a super heavy yarn, super thick garment, like you're gonna be able to see that your phone is in it if you have your phone in your pocket the same way you would with like dress pants. So that doesn't really bother me. I'm actually basically done with the cabling now. I think I only have like 2 more rows to go of the cabling and then a decrease row, and then I'm going to use this up just with the ribbing. The ribbing is supposed to be folded over at the top, and I do want it to be decently long. So I still have like 30 some grams here, and I think that will be good for the ribbing. And that'll be it for my skirt. It is almost done. I think it's looking good. I know I'll wear it quite a bit. I've just been really into skirts this year. So yeah, that's a free pattern from Patons, which is the yarn company. I like it a lot. I have no complaints. I was worried it'd be small for me, so, or like too loose, like not small enough. So I have been trying to knit it a little tighter, but I mean the yarn is just doing what it wants. Even like smaller needles than this, I don't think would change what the yarn is doing. It would still be basically the same thing. So that is that. Because I have to watch what I'm doing when I'm doing the cables, and especially when I'm doing my ladder backs, I started this cardigan pattern. I'm not sure if I showed it. It's also by Yarnspirations by Patons, and this is the Karen like marble. 3 cakes of that is what the pattern calls for. I was making a medium, but I'm worried it's gonna be like way too much ease compared to how much ease I actually want. And Rosie is visiting us now. Hi. I'm concerned about that, so I'm just gonna decrease some of the side stitches. It's only a difference of like 6 or 8 stitches between a medium and a small, since this is an Aran weight, which is like, I mean, those are basically the same size at that point. I'm just trying to, her paw is wrapped around my sock yarn. No. Alright. So my plan is I'm just decreasing very carefully the extra stitches that I'm not sure that I need on the sides here, and then the bottom of the cardigan in the back, like it might just get a little looser around the bottom, which is kind of what I want. I don't like when the bottoms of my tops like pull in tighter against my body. I really don't like that. Maybe it's because I play piano at work, and when you're sitting and garments are pulling in when your arms are out, like that's just annoying. So yeah, this is the project I started. It is a seamed garment. I think that's going to be really good for me because I haven't seamed anything in a really, really long time. And since I've gotten a lot more into knitting in the last year, it's just time to like get up to speed on certain techniques like that, like seaming and making clothes in different ways, because I need to figure out what type of garment suits me. I don't think circular yokes, I don't think I love them, just not sure about raglan either, but yeah, the circular yoke sweater I made last year, I don't know if it's the right fit for me. I'm gonna try saddle shoulders, I think. I don't know. I think having like something happen on the shoulder is what I want. So I'm going to try seaming this. This is a drop shoulder cardigan. We're going to try that. Drop shoulder. This sweater I made in 2022 mostly. Oh, I finished it in 2023. This sweater that I started in 2022 and then finished last year, it is too tight at the bottom. I think I'm going to remake that later this year and just like fix the hems and also shorten the sleeves. That's a raglan, and then I had a circular yoke that I made. So I think once I've tried like every type of yoke and shoulder construction, I'll know more what I want to do in the future. But yeah, you will see this cardigan more in the future as I get it done, and I'm planning to wear it a lot. I think I'll get a lot of use out of it. I'm also going to be doing pockets for that. Those pockets are actually a part of the pattern though. Oh, yeah. My talking and moving around was too much for the cat, so she's left now, but that's fine. And then this is where I'm at for my Sueño. I've stretched the top of it out by trying it on as much as I can. The problem is the gauge given for this pattern is pretty impossible to get with the DK yarn that it tells you to use. So you almost want to use like a worsted, like a light worsted, or if you're able to use a DK and keep your floats really loose, make sure the top of it is extra loose, because like this part of the garment here that's supposed to go all the way around this part of your shoulders, that's the part that I'm worried is going to be too tight. But just based on how much I'm able to stretch a lot of it, I think I will be able to block it out. And that, yeah, hopefully as I get more length out of it, the weight of it will pull the top of it and stretch it out enough that I'll be able to get the neckline to lay flat onto my chest. I mean, there's really no other option because I'm not doing all of this again. I don't necessarily have enough yards to make like the next size up of the pattern, even if I wanted to tear this all up and do all of it in the next size. But I think what I'm gonna end up with, because I'm sure I'm almost at gauge, but like I'm not gonna get gauge with this yarn. And I guess I should have realized that was a problem earlier, but when I did my gauge swatch, I was able to stretch it out to like almost get gauge, but I think gauge is supposed to be like 18 stitches per 4 inches, which like you're not going to get that with DK yarn, especially not in color work where you want to be able to have a pretty solid fabric that's not loose all over the place, you know? So yeah, that's one thing, is I think maybe the pattern should have been for worsted, or the gauge is just a lot. I probably should have made a size 2 like other people were doing, but I think what I'm going to end up with is a garment that's more fitted on me than the recommended ease. And then when I knit my second Sueño that comes in more sizes, I'm also going to make the Sunny Sueño. When I make that one, I'm planning to do like a larger size than I am for this one, so that I can experience a looser, more fitted Sueño. But this one I think is still going to be really, really cute. I got a lot done with this, haven't worked on it in a while. Look at those ladders. My ladders are super loose so far. I think as the fabric gets stretched out, it will, like, you can see it's possible to like get the ladder looking more like it's supposed to in the middle when you pull on the fabric and stretch the ladder out and really use it to to get the fabric wider like it's supposed to when you stretch the fabric out so that you're at gauge. And oh my gosh, I don't even know how to describe how wonderful these ladders are. You can see it, right? My color work does not normally look like this. And it gets better and better as you stretch it out. Like, this is not normal for me. This simply is not what my color work normally looks like. It's so bunchy on these needles too, but you'll see. When I was wearing it, when I had it on, It was just absolute magic. You know what? I think I'll put this on for you today. That'll be a lot easier, maybe, to talk about the top of it. Behold! As you can see, the top of it is still slightly bunching up from where I want it to lay. But considering it's not blocked yet, yeah. It is possible to stretch this collar down to around my collarbone where it is supposed to lay. And since it's possible to stretch it now when it's not done, after I get this baby wet, it is wool and bamboo. It's gonna give me a little bit of give, and it's all gonna be okay. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. Just making sure I'm not losing stitches. We're good. All right. As you can see, this is freaking beautiful. The tops of the bees were a little rough as I was learning how to do my ladders, but this color work here, where I have like 6 or so ladders per repeat, it is going so well. Look how stretchy that is. I have tons of room. I can't like lift my arms a lot so far without it flying off of me, but I mean, I don't know what poncho you can do that in, but I know I'm going to be able to play in it, which is really important. I just love how the curlicues and the roses fall along the line from my shoulder, and then there's going to be another line of flowers down here that kind of falls almost by my elbow. I've got about 7 or 8 more rows of this really insane 3-color color work I'm doing that involves all these ladders. And after I finish those 7 or 8 rows, it's back to pink and black for a while and hardly any ladders. So that is on the horizon. I think I'm gonna get to it this weekend. I'm really, really excited about that. This has been fun. I don't know if it's been fun. This has been satisfying. I have learned so much and gotten some really good experience making this garment. This is completely unlike anything I've made for myself before. This was a bit of a reach. The color work is hard. If I wasn't doing these ladder backs, I don't even, this would be impossible. This would look like trash. You would be able to see all of my floats poking through in different places. When you catch floats, you can see, like in between the stitches, you can see the color. Like where it was caught, you can see it through, kind of no matter what you do with most methods of float catching, especially when you have this many or more things to catch. Now, when I have like these pink floats there, they're also holding the black and the goldish threads behind them, behind these ladders. It's not just them. They are like saving you from having to float your other color that you're not using all the time. You just have to keep everything loose enough, if that makes sense. And that, it's time consuming. You can see there I had 3 and then I changed it to 2 and then 1. This is incredible. The top of it will stretch out enough. I keep trying it on because I'm like panicked about that. You know, you don't want to make an entire swancho like this and then the collar doesn't fit you. That would be absolutely ridiculous. But as you can see by how I'm wearing it, and it looks fine, it's not blocked yet, we're gonna be okay. Wow, this is so beautiful. I feel so stuck up, like putting on something I've made for myself, but what I mean is that the design and the pattern is really beautiful. It is supposed to be more ease than this, a little bit looser. I could check gauge for you maybe. What happened to this? All right, how many stitches do I have per inch? We'll just go from that. Yeah, I have about like 5 stitches per inch down here, which would be 20 stitches or so per 4 inches instead of 18. So that means it is like a bit more compact, like 8 or 10 or 12% smaller of a garment than it should be. But the ease is like 15 to 30 inches or something like that, recommended ease. So when you're going from 20 inches of ease to 15 inches of ease, or 15 inches of ease to 12 inches of ease, you're not getting a remarkably different garment. That's what I figure. That's how I'm justifying this. It's still going to be loose. It's still going to be big. I love it. This is going to be great. I think it's nice colors on me too. I don't know what else to say. This is going to be spectacular. Good morning. It is Saturday, February 3rd. I just finished filming all the rest of my updates for what I got done in January. Forgive my voice. I had to get up super early to go play a song for a girl who's auditioning for State Honors Choir. And getting up that early on a Saturday, like, I'm not about that. And my husband is still sleeping, so I wish I could be jumping up and down and shouting and gleefully showing my projects. But it's gonna be just a sleepy, low-key look at what I've been doing. Here we go. And here is my finished skirt. I finished it several days ago. It's February now. I did finish it in January. It fits pretty well. I'm happy with the length. I was worried it was too short, but on camera it actually looks like a good length. The one thing is I still need to put elastic in the waistband. I just have not had time to go to the store, so yeah. So that was my skirt. I ran out of yarn as I was sewing the waistband in. It's double layered and then you thread the elastic through it. And so I'm just gonna have to use a little bit of scrap yarn to tuck the rest of this hem down after I get some elastic. It does need elastic. It will kind of stay up on its own, but not if I have anything in my pockets. I don't really like elastic, but it's necessary. At least since I'm the one doing it, I can make it so that it's not too tight. But yeah, I think the cables look really pretty. I mean, it's a little bit scratchier than I would wear against my skin, but since it's basically outerwear and I'll have tights under it or leggings, that doesn't matter. But that's the reason why I didn't make it longer, is I was just using up my 3rd ball of yarn, and I'm not keeping the 4th. I'm going to return it. I suppose I should do that soon. I'm not sure if I have, like, hopefully 60 days to return it. I think you can always return things to Michael's, hopefully. I'm not sure. I just want in-store credit. I don't want a refund or anything, so I think I'll be able to return it. So that's that. Ironically, while I was in the middle and like 2/3 of the way through the skirt, it was like negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit here, which is probably close to negative 10 degrees Celsius, negative 5 degrees Celsius, something like that. And now it's like 30 to 40 degrees. As soon as I was finishing it, it got really warm. All of our snow, for the most part, is melted. It looks absolutely hideous. And this isn't normal for this time of year, so when it gets cold again, which should be sometime in February, it'll be cold again. And then I'll finally be able to wear it. I did finish re-knitting these socks for myself. They fit a lot better now. I had the yarn had been through a lot, so it looks a little lumpy and damaged from being re-knit, being like worn and then like ripped out and then re-knit without me washing it. But it's fine. I mean, they're socks, so they'll stretch out on their own over time. I've been wearing these a lot. I'm gonna need to get myself more pairs of socks for sure. So those are done. I've been wearing them, but I didn't weave my ends in. I guess I'll weave the ends in this weekend. Yesterday, I finished the back of my cardigan. I made it just a little shorter than what the pattern said. I'm just laying it against my favorite store-bought cardigan that's a similar style as this. I wear that cardigan all the time, and it's like a mint green and white and tan stripes. So that's kind of what inspired this. This is like a warm tone version of that. This has been pretty boring, but I have been doing it while I read, so that's the purpose of the project. I needed to get it off the needles because I have a different sweater I'm casting on with the same size, and the front panels of this are smaller, so I can knit them on my original straight needles, like the straight needles I got when I first started knitting in middle school, and I made a bunch of donated baby hats with them. I'm really happy with the colors of this yarn. I like the transitions, how subtle some of them are. I like the lilac and the raspberry color. See, that transition there is so beautiful. Yeah, the marbling is really nice. I do think I'm going to wear that sweater a lot, so I'd like to get it done. And then, at long last, I am finally going to reveal a project that I've had my eye on it since the fall. I think I first saw the pattern in like November probably. How I discovered this pattern was I was on Reddit in the fall and somebody asked for like historical garment inspired patterns. And in response, somebody shared the designer. She's a British designer. Her name is Sue Bradley. And she has this older collection of sweaters that are extremely like over-the-top historical replicas of different styles. So there's like a Victorian one, I think something medieval. There's something Egyptian, and they're very cool. I wouldn't actually wear them. I'm not an art history professor, so I don't think that bold of a garment could work for me. But I was going through her entire Ravelry page, and I came across this garment. It is called Flower Block Sweater, and that's what it is. It's from the late 80s, I think. There's no project pages for it, and when I Google it with the designer's name, I don't see that anybody that's made it has like shared pictures of it, and there's nothing on her website about it anymore. She's still working in design. I don't think she designs knitwear anymore, or at least definitely not in this style. So this is my swatch for it. I was trying to use up more scraps, and the reason I committed to definitely making this pattern is I had exactly the right amount of grams of black and white DK scraps left over from my father-in-law's bee sweater. Like, I have an awkward amount of this left, and so I definitely will be able to do the flower sections in black and white just like it said. What's hard is that the pattern is so old and a little bit hard to follow. Like, it's pretty affordable. It's only like $5 compared to the $9 that most sweater patterns are nowadays. But the chart is a bit harder to see than modern charts, just because the computer charting equipment and software that they had 30 years ago was not the same as what people have now, so no worries about that. And then I have these scraps I was able to use. But anyhow, as I was going through my scraps, I kind of decided I wanted mine to be pink. I don't know if it's Valentine's Day coming up. My birthday's really close to that, so I've never really celebrated Valentine's Day that much, and I just kind of ignore it. But I've just been really into pink recently. I don't know why. I'm in a pink phase that I haven't experienced in many years. I don't have a lot of pink clothes. So these are the colors I've picked for my flower block sweater. Yeah, I saw it, I fell in love. I just knew immediately, like, I have to make this. I need this sweater. I might even make a second one in fall colors. So this boucle I got from Knit Picks, I accidentally got 2, but I'm holding it triple, I'm pretty sure. So I like the fabric that I get from holding it triple. I'm a little worried that the boucle won't hold up as well over time, but I mean, it'll be fine. This pink is Cascade 220. I have like 40 some grams of it. I split it in half so that I'll know I have enough for the front and the back to be the same. And then if I don't end up having that pink for the sleeves, it's okay. So this, I finally just decided to include as one of the 50-gram colors in the project. This is Plymouth in the color burgundy. This is also Plymouth, so these two are the same brand. This is Knitted Wit in the color something noir. And these two I ordered from Emma's. This one is Plant Lady, I'm pretty sure, so there's a little flecks of green in it. I had a lot of trouble finding something multicolored. I guess like multi is less in style than it was at the time, because the multicolored one in the sweater it's just extremely multi and variegated, and yeah, I had trouble finding something that was that variegated, even though it's originally what I wanted, but I think this is gonna be good. And then this color is Heavy Pour, and the base I got from them is half cotton because the sweater was supposed to be in cotton and this was on sale because cotton is normally like a summer yarn. So that is eventually what I went with, but I had a lot of trouble making that decision. So this purplish color is my main color, and then this is the variegated color, and the other ones, these are for the flowers, and these are just like the extras that are very much little contrast colors and don't show up a lot. This was on gauge exactly, and then I got it wet and blocked it, and it stretched out a little bit wide, so I think I'm just gonna go down a needle size. Yeah, I'm very excited about the sweater. The pattern doesn't give yardage, it just gives ounces of like cotton DK yarn. I'm like, okay, it's been 30 years, so I don't know. I guess your yardage per ounce of cotton yarn is probably about the same. But yeah, it's just going by it does say the number of grams. So I'm making the smallest size, and it only comes in 3 sizes. So like small, medium, and large adult sizes. You could change the charts though. It's really just a chart for a seamed pullover sweater. I'm going to be starting this hopefully today. I'm going to go down from a size 6 to a size 5. This has stretched out a lot. The gauge was 20.5 stitches per 4 inches, and now I'm at like 18. Ironically, I'm at the gauge, now that it's washed, that my swancho is supposed to be. So if my swancho stretches out like this, that would be great. This burgundy, I have 4 balls of it, and I'm going to make the sunny swancho with that, another swancho. So I'm hoping not to use that much of the burgundy yarn with this, but I can always get more, so we'll see what happens. I decided to make socks for my grandparents. I wanted to try Emma's sock yarn, so I got 50 grams of it while I was ordering the sweater yarn in the color Weather Vane. I was hoping it would have more of the gray and the orange like some of the photos did, but the photos were of a different base, so it's like a cream and yellow. The pattern, I got a bunch of Summer Lee's sock designs. I got a couple of them, like 3 of them. And it's the Seasons pattern on the top of the foot, but I made them toe up. And I tried a rounded toe for the first time, and I kind of messed up the start of it on the first sock, and then was too lazy to go back. These are kind of short. They're definitely more of, I guess, a summer sock, and I'm worried that they're not going to fit her that well. Her feet are smaller than mine. My grandma's like a size 6 foot, but my measurements for her foot and her ankle are actually larger than mine, even though her foot is shorter. And so I think the foot of it is probably good, but I would decrease because I didn't want the ankle to be too loose. Like my socks for myself, the ankle is too loose. I think I decreased too much, like right here, right at the instep, and I ran out of yarn to make them longer because I'm just weighing and I only have 25 grams for each sock. So I think I'm gonna finish these and have her try them on and try wearing them and see what I need to change for her. I'm not that experienced of a sock knitter to customize the fit yet. Like, I haven't learned how to get the fit right. I know lots of people have guides and tutorials and everything, but since I keep like modifying patterns and making things toe up instead and trying different heels and trying different things, this is only the 6th pair of socks I've made. Other people I've made them for that are wearing them claim that they fit good and that they're fine. So I think I'm just being picky when it comes to myself and like the sock standards that I'm holding myself to, but yeah. So this is the 2nd sock. I started it 2 nights ago. I'm gonna finish these, have grandma try them on and try wearing them, and then I probably will make her more socks in different colors. My mom was kind of insulting my color choice. She was like, she likes green. I'm like, okay, I have yarn I'm gonna use for her, but I mean, I can make her more than one pair. I'll make her whatever she wants in the future once I get this figured out. And she was like, well, maybe you should ask her. But it was because I asked my grandpa what color he wanted. And his answer was so funny. I wasn't expecting it. His answer was something really loud, like orange. So I have that yarn. It was very fun going to my yarn store and telling the owner I have the opposite request as most people want for their yarn. I want something loud and orange for socks. And it's in the other room, so you'll have to see it next time, but I did already get the yarn for that. I'm just intimidated because he has like a size 11 feet, so I'm really gonna need to measure this gauge and be very careful about my math. I'm gonna have to do some math for that. So that's coming soon. And then I'm gonna have a lot of DK leftovers from this sweater project and from my Sueño, and I'm really wanting to make a doodle cowl that has these warm tones and these pinks in it for spring. Not a straight up Valentine's Day one or a spring one. I got the floral one. I got like 3 sets of the doodle charts just a couple days ago so I could start looking at them. I got the floral and the Valentine's and the mountain one, actually. And the mountain one has some charts I could also use for Christmas stockings because it has some evergreen trees and a lot of things that look like stars and skies and stuff on it. So, I'm just really wanting to make a doodle cowl again for some reason. I don't know why, because I didn't finish the fall one. I still have to finish my fall one. But since I'm intending to use leftovers with it, I have to make these sweaters before I can turn the leftovers into my leftover project. So the last thing I'll show you is I'm finally on the black and pink rows of this. And it's insane how fast this went once I got done with the 3 colors. Like the rows now, they're just regular floats. Do I have any of the... No, I don't think I have any of the... I had one last ladder. I had one last pink ladder going through here briefly, but I have no ladders right now. I'm really happy with how these flowers are looking. From the chart and from project photos, I couldn't tell actually that that was a flower, but now that I've gotten mine done, I can tell that there's a flower. That is so much cleaner color work for a straight line of one stitch in a different color than I've ever gotten before in my entire life. Same with like this section. When I put this on my body and stretch it out a bit, it is just perfection. And it's all thanks to Ladderback Jacquard. So yeah, I've got a couple garments going. This garment, not really anywhere near done. This sweater, all I have is the back of it. And yet I'm starting another sweater. It would be good. I think I want the flower sweater the most. This is going to be really thick and warm. And also this would work for fall because of the gold color in it. It would be good to have the flower sweater done for my birthday, which is the 16th, which is in 14 days, and that's absolutely never, not in a million thousand years going to happen, because I have so much work right now, and it's just too big of a project, and I'm gonna have to seam it together and block it. Maybe by the end of February I'll have 2-ish of these garments done, but I kind of doubt that. I don't have that many gigs, but I do have one recital later in the month, and I have some gigs. I have some music I'm really supposed to be learning today. So, yeah, that was our sock updates. Let me see. 2 pairs of socks that I've started and almost done with this year. I made the hat, I made the skirt, and then I have these 3 garments I'm working on. So I'm on track to make just an insane amount of stuff, maybe even more than I did in 2023. So thank you to the 80 people who are subscribed to my channel. It is lovely to have you here. I don't think we're going to become a high-tech, organized influencer kind of a podcast. Knitfluencer. That's never going to be us here. Like, the idea of getting a video up even every 2 weeks during the school year is absolutely laughable. Now that I've tried to film while I have university students here, they were gone in December. Now that I've tried that, I just look at my week and I'm like, there's no time that I'm awake during the daylight hours that I can sit down for 2 hours and film my knitting. It's just not gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. And that's okay. So we'll update you monthly. I mean, nobody needs to see people's projects every week anyway. I know some people knit even faster than me, and I've been working pretty fast considering how much I should be doing other things. But yeah, I guess I don't know what I'm saying, but don't expect to see me that often. Every 3 to 4 weeks is about what we're gonna get. In the summer and over some of my breaks, I might see you more, but I hope that you're doing well, and bye.